Welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. This is Will Crozier.
And I'm Nikki Westcombe. We are the founders of Nexus Performance. Joining us on this wild ride is our heavyweight coaching team, ready to unleash their expertise to solve any problems in your journey to getting strong and jacked.
Through our real-world experience, we hope to break things down in a digestible, applicable, and entertaining way.
So pump up the volume and let's get into this.
Okay, Bella. That's the deadlift sound. That's the deadlift PB.
We need that.
Imagine
how annoying that would be going off in the gym all the fucking time if someone had an air horn.
Imagine how annoying it would be if you're walking out for your third deadlift and the DJ's pressing that 20 times.
Has that happened to you?
Yeah, that's the reason why we got that sound. Oh. Yeah, that was Pro Rule 9. Pro Rule 9. If you walk out, if you watch my video back, the third deadlift, I think it was the third deadlift at Pro Rule 9, which was my first 800 pounds, so 365 deadlift. Luckily, I was just fucking hell locked in. Like that day, I was just like, nothing. Like they could have been playing Barbie Girl, would have been right. And I remember, walking out and the dude's just like, meow, 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 meow. And I'm just like, yep.
Nah, that'd do my head in. Nah, I still don't reckon it would be as bad as when Breakthrough would play.
Oh, the intro music?
Third song. Like everyone's third lift, they got a different song.
Yeah, they get to choose their own music.
And then
that never works.
15 seconds of a song and they'd be the most. It'd go from, I think one of them went from an anime opening to then hardcore drill to screamo to, like, fuck, this is.
I'm never, any meet directors out there don't do that.
Yeah, please.
It sounds like a great idea in theory.
You think it's a good idea because you're like, then people get to listen to the music.
They get pumped up, right?
Joy.
Yeah.
I just listen to it in my headphones.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I walk out singing it in my head. And to me, that is like my cue kind of thing. Like that's how I.
The other hard part is like
relying on music as an arousal technique.
Well, yeah. There's that you shouldn't be doing, but also just like it's the start of the song. So like typically like there's most songs have got a little bit of a build unless it's like a radio song.
The only thing they did differently was they allowed you to select time.
Oh, wow, that's
There were some of the songs that were some of the songs were coming in at like 45 seconds or a minute to like exactly where they wanted it.
Yeah, I just don't think it's.
But imagine having
to
organize that.
If you look at any other, like you're talking about, in this case, a comp that's quite high level. If you look at any other pro sport, they don't do that. Like LeBron's not taking a shot and he's like, oh, it's not my fucking tune, bro. Like, what the fuck? Like, come on, man.
They do come out to the same song every time, though.
Yeah, but that's a team thing. Yeah, I mean, we could do that.
We all come out together holding hands.
I think the abs over in the UK, which is the big comps over there, like they do like a press conference, like weigh-in sort of thing, like UFC type deal.
That's cool.
And there's like, there's walkout music with that and shit. I think that's cool. I don't mind that.
I'd feel embarrassed because imagine you like come out to walkout music and then you just bomb. It's like
no, well, it'll be the start of the comp, surely. Like they do. Although when I went to American Pro, remember their third deadlift, they walked down the fucking tube and they have all the lights on the floor and shit.
That would throw me off. I don't like that.
Yeah,
I just like to walk out, get it done, and fuck off.
For some reason, I thought it was for every lift, which would be hell annoying. Because
imagine being in wraps and having to walk a runway.
Yeah. I remember when I did the rising bar. It reminds me when I did rising bar deadlift comp, the Sunshine Coast deadlift comp at SimCity that I did. I think it was 2019 or something, and they ran that as a rising bar comp, so similar to weightlifting, where there's no attempts. You just kind of have to keep just doing whatever's on the bar. You're allowed to jump in or skip attempts and stuff like that. And at that comp, like a lot of the initial ones are kind of like just your warm-ups. Like they're not, for the first, especially when I was like hitting the bigger weights of the day, the first probably like 5 lifts were just very, very, very comfortable. And so I remember like walking out and then everybody would be like, come on, Will. And I'm like, it's literally a warm-up. And then it would always make me more nervous. And then I hit it. And then everybody's like clapping. And I'm like, fuck me. This is like,
You got 70 kilos on the bar. The crowd goes wild. You're like,
yeah. It wasn't quite that bad, obviously, because I got to jump in. Yeah, but like it was like a very
that would
easy.
throw me off. I think that would throw me off way
It did,
too
but
much.
then it was light enough that I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. I'd be scared I'd fuck it up.
Yeah.
Somehow I would 100% fuck that up, and I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm out at 200. That's a shame.
Yeah. Speaking of that, today we're talking a little bit on first comps. And the reason I bring that up is I get similar feelings around my first squat. Like whenever I do a comp, obviously we're very smart with attempt selection personally and at Nexus in general. And my first squat anyway, like the general rule is like, 90-ish%, give or take a little bit. Leave a lot in the tank, or another way to view it would be like a weight that you can triple, should be open up, should be very, very comfortable. Still a warm up.
Yeah. I always like to say RPE 7.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
And a weight that you've hit plenty of times in prep, and you should be well and truly, truly prepared for. But still, every single time I walk out to hit that first squat, I'm just like, what if I fail this? And then the whole crowd laughs at me. Like I just get this picture of like everybody just going like, who the fuck is this flop? And then I mean, sometimes it happens, and it's usually a technicality, like squat depth, or you miss a call or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like that does happen. I've been there too, and I did feel like that, even though absolutely no one's laughing. But
there's probably someone somewhere. Cheeky
fuck that guy.
Fuck. Yeah, fuck. It's probably a baby in the back corner or something. Thinks it's real funny.
Fair enough. But yeah, like at the time, walking out, even though I know it's going to be easy, even though I know I've done 100 times, and it's why I program like my guys, like 2-3 weeks out, maybe we've got an inkling of like what the open is going to be at that point, and within that last few weeks of a comp prep, I'll aim to put it in their programs a bunch of times, like whether it's as back off singles or whether it's as, when we start to deload, like I'll try and pick that weight, not only as like an easy weight, but like as a mental kind of like just fucking smashing it, so that like hopefully when you get there, you're like, I've literally done this 10 times in the last fucking few weeks.
You're sprinkling it through.
Yeah. Like if it's meant to be a little bit lighter than that or heavier than that, like I'll just make it that, just purely so it's that number, so that when it's loaded, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I actually had that conversation with someone last week. Exact similar thing to what you just said. Is like, no matter how much I prepare, as soon as I walk out for that first squat, I shit my pants. I'm like, oh fuck. What if I forget how to squat today?
Yeah,
what if I don't know what if I don't know how to squat?
Yeah.
I'm
sure it happens in every sport, though.
I've never missed an opener.
Like
ever.
You don't see it, but like I'm sure, like in the NRL and that, or AFL, or like I'll guarantee you, like the dude who's doing the kickoff is kind of like, what if I just like fuck this kicker? Like I'm sure, like at that level, once done it a billion times, it's gone. But I'm sure in their first comp, they were fucking like, what if I grubber this along the ground?
Well, I guess it's probably a little bit different for AFL because like we obviously have the centre bounce.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe the ruckman thinks, oh, what if I forget to jump? It's just like the other ruckman wins.
Which I'm sure you do see kids.
It happens all the time. I watched one of the ruckmen the other day in one of the games. He just didn't jump and the ball landed on his back.
Nice.
He like somehow fell and the ball bounced off his back. Went to one of his teammates, so somehow it still played well.
Did on purpose.
No. Horrible player.
He would say that.
We won't go into that. I'm sure it happens in every other sport. Absolutely. But it's just one of those things that, like, no matter how many times you try, I think it comes from a place of caring. That's how I've explained it to people. It's like, if you don't walk out on your first squat a little bit nervous, you're either just somehow like the most calm, collected individual in the world, or you just don't care. Because I feel like it comes from a place of caring, like you want to do well, and all you need to do is get that first number on the board, and then you see it happen every time. It's like people hit that squat and they're like, fuck, we're on.
Yeah,
we're ready. We're ready to go now.
I've definitely had people, as in coached people, that were too relaxed, like too chill. Like I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like what's wrong, man? And
do they do well?
Sometimes they literally were just too relaxed. Like it was just like a qualifier or something like that. And then they're like, oh, this is an easy weight. And they go and get pinned by it. I'm like, just because it's an easy weight, it's still fucking heavy.
Yeah.
And you still have to treat it, with
As
respect.
such. Yeah.
So that has happened. Usually they wake up real fucking quick after that and get it. But slightly different to what we're talking about for sure.
Yeah. No one wants to miss their opener.
No, because it really fucks up the mental for the rest of the
sets the tone.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, so
mentally, physically.
Open light is the advice there. Open real light. Open if it's your first comp or if it's your first comp in a while, or maybe prep's been a little bit astray, and then you've hurt a knee, and so you maybe haven't you've had something that's bumped the confidence a little bit. Open light. Take bigger jumps. Don't be scared of bigger jumps. Don't be that person taking 2% increases.
Don't be afraid to also take a weight that you've opened on previously.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's another comp. I know myself.
Yeah, you want to push it more.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, but I've progressed, so I should be opening at this. It's like, why?
Yeah, but you've also progressed so you can take a slightly bigger jump.
5-10 kilos really going to make that much difference at the very start?
Yeah. Yeah, 90%
maybe not.
Yeah, like if you've gone up, if you had it's easy. Like if you had a 100-kilo bench in your last comp, and now you've put 10 kilos on your bench, which would be fairly standard. So you're aiming for like 110. As we said, openers are like 90%. So 90% of 100 versus 90% of 110 is not much. So it really, really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As much as you think, because your jumps are often going to be slightly bigger as you get stronger, because it's a lower percentage, and you just the more comps you do, the more confidence you get in that as well.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people who are very, very experienced and very good take 50-kilo jumps on their deadlifts in particular, like in the warm-up room, just because they're like, they're fucking warm by that point. You've done squat, you've done bench, you're good. But also just veterans of the game, just confident as, don't need to do it much at all, and they can just do that.
Yeah.
So that they're not worried about missing their opener. They're like, yeah, fuck, I'll just do that. And the only thing they're worried about missing is their third, because they've done it 1,000 times.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's where you want to get to, but first comp, it's a bit of a different game.
You want to start with the first comp as an athlete?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I
or as a
might
coach.
have told this. We can talk about our first comps that we ever did for sure. I think I've told it a few times in terms of like the rundown of the day, but I had competed my whole life in sports. First of all, I did football and lots of other competitive pursuits, lots of different varieties of sport throughout my whole childhood. So I think that helped me a lot with just kind of like having a slightly more competitive mindset and not letting things get to me as much. And then prior to powerlifting, my first powerlifting comp in 2015, I did 2 years of like bodybuilding before that, which people probably know. But getting on stage as a bodybuilder, I found much, much, much more nerve-wracking.
Makes sense.
Because you're literally like fucking standing on a stage with lights on you in your underwear, and people are literally judging you.
It's like that nightmare you have as a kid that you wake up and you're somehow standing in front of a crowd at school naked.
Yeah, it's like
Except it's a thing, and you pay for it.
Yeah, you pay for it
to do it,
and people are sitting there with scorecards actually judging you.
A bit small, mate.
Yeah, yeah, they're right.
It's cold in here.
And so it's way more. And the other shitty thing about bodybuilding to a degree is that you kind of have to look like you're enjoying yourself as well. Like you have to kind of like look flowy.
Yeah.
You can't be robotic to some degree anyway. You can, but it looks better if you are.
Have to smile.
Yeah, you got a bit of a smile going. You're enjoying yourself. You're a bit more flowy, and absolutely not enjoying myself. So I'm putting on this face, and I'm like,
This is the greatest.
Great guys, love me. Be nice. So like I had that experience before powerlifting, And that was one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done in my fucking life. So powerlifting comparatively was way more my jam because it's like just lifting heavy shit. Like all I have to do is walk out on this platform, lift some heavy shit. I was still absolutely nervous as hell. But yeah, way more down my alley. So like, I guess I had a little bit of an advantage on that front coming in. I was also looking back on it compared to a lot of people coming into their first comps, a lot more prepared. I super duper consistent on my nutrition and training and how to coach for my first comp, which sometimes people don't do. So very well guided and knew exactly kind of the plan for the day and all that stuff, which is, yeah, like I said, something that a lot of people fuck up. One of the points that I've got here is even if you feel that like confident in your approach, like maybe you have come from a different sport and you know programming, maybe you've gone to uni and you've learnt, programming and everything there, and you're confident with like the actual plan coming into a comp and what you're going to do. I would still absolutely recommend that A, you get somebody to guide you through the prep, and B, whether it's the same person or not, get somebody to help you on the day.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get there and, yeah, you're just like a little bit fucking lost.
Flustered.
Yeah,
you get a bit flustered.
Yeah, there's like, okay.
New
well,
environment, new people.
Yeah, you're not in your gym. You're like, where's my chalk? Where's my this? I usually do this warm-up drill, but there's nowhere to do it. I usually lay on the ground and have a bit of a stretch, but I didn't get here in time. There's not enough time to do that. Like at Pro Roll, because like especially the first few years when the cage was like the warm-up room was pretty small, like I couldn't do any of my drills I normally do because there's just bags and people everywhere.
Yeah.
And honestly, most comps at any level are the same. Like there's just fucking there's nowhere to do anything. So there's always some guy trying to do like some weird ass band drill like in the corner, and it's just not working. But I never say anything because I'm like, if it's helping confidence wise, go for it, my man.
They try their best.
Yeah. But yeah, get someone to help you.
Yep.
Please, for the love of God, just get somebody. The amount of times I've helped out people at comps because I've gone to a comp like to help my athletes that have come in, and then I just see somebody and the person straight, you can see the look on their face straight away, but they're just wandering around like a lost lamb. Like they're like, just.
You have to adopt them.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, yeah, come in, I've got you.
Come in under the wing.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm picking attempts for them typically, and it's not like, because like I said, they've typically got a plan. Like it's not like they just came in blind and like, oh, what the fuck is this? How did I, what? Like attempts. They typically know what they're doing, but it's not that. Like you just forget to do stuff. Like put in your next attempt.
Yeah.
Forget to eat food. Forget to like warm up. Like there's plenty of stuff. So if you can get somebody to help you out and just to kind of go tell you to do the simple stuff.
Yeah.
Did you have anybody help you on your first?
Daz, and then you rocked up.
Yeah,
on the day too. So I originally had always planned Darren to come.
Yeah.
And then you obviously rocked up around. You actually rocked up at squats, which was good. Very convenient. Helped a lot.
Yeah. Well, I usually tell people
Daz didn't really know what it was the blind leading the blind.
But even if Daz didn't know what he was doing, and he was
powerlifting, but he knew me.
He knew, exactly. Yeah.
That was where he came in clutch, and he's handled me at every comp since.
Yeah. And that's why I tell people, I'm like,
from a personal perspective, whereas you obviously handle me from the lifting and that sort of shit, where he's there to be like, he knows when to sit me down, shut me up, get stuff, and
yeah. If a lot of my clients that I work online with, I don't train in person with, and they typically have training partners or just people that are around them in training, and I'm usually telling them go, like, try to get that person to help, try to get that person to be there, because they know your like little ticks or little like routines and what you do and what you like to drink and what you like to, I don't know, they just know stuff about you that I'm not. I know what your lifts look like and what your numbers are. Yeah. So I can handle that, but I can't I won't be able to handle you as much.
Yeah. And that takes time, obviously.
Yeah.
Like it's something we learn.
At my first comp, even though, like I said, I was really prepared in that, my coach wasn't there. She was IPF, so she wasn't allowed to be at a GPC meet.
But you had Mickey.
I No, Mickey was actually over in Europe.
Oh, was Mickey not at your first comp?
No, Mickey was at the other side of the world.
There you go.
Having a holiday. So
how dare she? She hasn't missed a comp since.
Unsupportive.
She just spent every birthday for the last 10 years at Pro
yeah, paying it back. No, I had Tyler, who was
that's right. Yeah.
He was my training partner, as well as a couple of friends who came along, and that was we knew each other back to front. We'd been training each other for years at that point, and knew exactly how we both were, knew exactly what to say, and yeah, although we were kind of like you said, blind leading the blind, we definitely were like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah,
but
see,
but we made it.
My first comp, I was almost the complete opposite to you. My nutrition was not good. I had gone from 104 to 109 kilos because Solid. I just decided to, I'm going to be in the 110, so I'm just going to eat like a brick.
Yep.
I'd barely squatted for 10 weeks leading into it because I'd had fucking knee pain. And then I think I remember doing my opener. And then when I walked out on the day, I hit my opener and it was easy as fuck, so light. And I looked at you and you were like, yeah, just go to 225 from there. And I'd only ever squatted 220. And I was like, oh, okay. Did it. Easy. And then we were just like, yep, 235. So I walked away with a 15 kilo PB after barely squatting. Not that I recommend that.
Sometimes you do.
Sometimes it worked. But yeah, I was just in terms of nutrition, I think I've spoken about this before, but on the day I had not prepared any food. All I brought with me was lollies and Staminade. I ordered Red Rooster after squats. And then I barely got through bench, got through 2 benches, cramped up in my back, had Red Rooster as a treat.
Yeah.
Then spent
exactly what you
the
need.
rest of the afternoon spewing. Every time I'd go to brace for deadlifts, I'd spew. So Daz had it nailed that as soon as I would brace deadlift, I'd take my belt off and throw it to him and run. And I ran out the front, would throw up, and then I'd come back in and do the next one. Still ended up having a fucking great day. I loved it. Loved the experience. You obviously being there helped a lot from the lifting side of things. But again, as you said, at that point, we'd only realistically met a couple of times.
Yeah.
So Daz was more there to be the handler, the mentor, the person who knew how to deal with me.
Yeah.
And you just gave me advice. And I think at that time, it was just you just being just do this weight. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it helps a lot. Yeah.
Just having someone to be do this.
Yeah.
Instead of me being oh, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I do this? This sort of thing. Having someone there is 1,000% a recommendation. Yeah. And if you can get away with it on your first one, if you do have a coach and they can handle that side of things and they can be there, perfect. But I honestly recommend having someone who knows you more. Because a coach can give you numbers. It's easy for a coach to say, just do this number next.
Yeah, you can do some like I said, the plan's not that hard, but the plan changes as well.
Yeah, and I guess as a coach as well, handling lifters, the more I've handled specific lifters at comps, now I know them back to front on how they are on a comp day, which realistically at the end of the day is all that matters. It's how they respond on a comp day. So the more you get to do it, obviously that relationship will change. But even for me, Darren still handles me at every comp.
He's still there to support.
Yeah. Because he just knows me.
When I said I had my nutrition down, that was more going into comp, as in I controlled my body weight really well.
Oh, I didn't know.
So I came to comp and I was quite lean, and I think at the start of comp week I was there you go. I was 106. I'm pretty sure, and I cut down to under hundreds.
Oh, okay.
First comp.
Yeah, I did not do that.
Yeah, it wasn't. Again, another thing I look back on and I'm I absolutely wouldn't recommend that to anyone. Just to throw another complete variable into your first comp. Something that, realistically you really want to make as planned and as, I guess, predictable as possible. But I guess the slight difference for me was that I had just done 2 years of bodybuilding, and so I knew how to manipulate my body really, really well at that point. But yeah, definitely don't recommend that. But I cut 6 kilos coming in, got to 99.9 or whatever it was, and weighed in butt naked, first comp, as you want to do. And then the next day I was back up at 107 or something, and I was large on my first comp day, and I think that was the only comp I ever actually on paper did it under 100, because I went to do the next comp at under 100, and I just had a little bit of a lat thing go on, and I still cut all the way. I think I cut 8 kilos for my second comp, but then my back was playing up and I didn't actually get to do it. So unfortunate. But yeah, at that first comp, I did all that, and then I actually did similar to you. I think it wasn't between after squats, but I think after bench. I think between bench and deadlift, we had a fairly significant break. It was a state, so we must have had like a fair few flights. So after the first gap between squat and bench, I didn't know how much time I was going to get, and it turned out to be a fairly decent amount of time. And then I got to after bench, and I knew it was going to be a similar longish amount of time again. And so I went down the road and got similar. I think it was either KFC or Red Rooster. Definitely don't recommend that either.
Yeah, well, it's safe to say that the day after my comp, I booked in with Nexus for nutrition, and that was the start of that journey. But I don't recommend what I did either. Like eating. Yeah,
my experience wasn't as bad as you. I wasn't throwing up, but looking back,
like 6.5 kilos.
Yeah,
and just got fat. Added it very quickly.
Yeah,
was just eating.
Slammed it on.
I'm in the 110s. I got to be at 110, and I was like, I probably could have just sat at 102, 103, and just been whatever I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's probably where my saving grace was. Even though I ate that, I was very controlled, leaving up with the opposite for you. So it probably shot you in the foot a bit more.
Yes.
Then
what? Do you remember your first time do you remember your first time handling at a comp?
Sorry, Bowser's just walked in. Just checking on us, making sure that the podcast is going well. Yep, going well. That's right. First time handling at a comp. Well, I mean, it would have been the same comp for me because I was handling Tyler. Like we're handling each other kind of in a way, but like I wasn't handling.
Do you remember your first time handling a client?
No, I
only do because I put a post up the other day about this, so it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah, you say yours first, and I'll think about it. I'm trying to think.
Lovely. So it's easy because, as I said, I put this up the other night, so it was quite funny that this was our topic this week. Basically, my first client I ever handled at a competition was Felicity, for those of you who play along at home.
Yeah.
And I had never personally competed myself. You had been coaching me for maybe a month or two at this point, and had given me a couple of pointers as we were getting through the back end. I'd never actually competed myself. Flick went up and did the novice comp at Valhalla, and the fact I've mentioned or left out of my post the other night is I actually went out for a mate's birthday the night before, so I rocked up violently hungover, which was not probably a great idea for the first comp to roll up and handle, but we live and we learn. And I didn't know how to use a mono. I didn't know about how to hand in attempt selections. I didn't know how to basically do anything because I'd never experienced it myself. And I kind of just fumbled my way through the day. There was a couple of coaches up there like Brendan Greco, Jay, the strength coach, like
people experienced.
A couple of guys that I'd followed on Instagram and stuff, and was just kind of trying to follow along with what they were doing. Flick ended up having a great day. I think she came second or third on that day. And overall, it sparked a massive love in the atmosphere, the support, the vibe. Like that was my first experience at a powerlifting comp at all. And I was like, yeah, this is sick. I want to do this for as long as I possibly can. And yeah, just kind of pretty much like my first comp, just fumbled my way through it and figured it out. And I was like, okay, I like this. This is sick. And then here we are 4 years later.
Do you have anything obviously reading the rule book and stuff like that?
I didn't even do that. No, that would have been a good idea. Yeah. So
but I mean regrets or not regrets, but
plenty.
Lessons.
Not rock up hungover would be number one.
Yep.
The classic, I'm not going to drink, and then you end up plastered. But I don't drink anymore. What's that? 16 months sober completely. So it's pretty good. But that would be number one. Don't rock up hungover.
Yep.
Read the rule book. Number two.
Yeah, or at least
have an understanding of the rules about how to do certain things.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, Flick is a stickler for the rules. So she had read the rule book back to front and she was telling me the rules throughout the day. So that really helped my case.
Yeah.
I think if it was anyone else, I would have been screwed. I probably would never have gone into powerlifting, and who knows, I probably wouldn't be here now. But thankfully, she handled me on the day better than I handled her probably. Learn the rules, but I think this is why, and it's not a stuck in stone rule, but I definitely believe you should have experience in doing something before coaching others in doing that thing. Like, I feel having experience in powerlifting, even if I'd just done one novice comp or just a comp in general, or even just turned up to a comp and tried to learn a little bit more about the goings on, would have benefited me more than just rocking up
a million times. Yeah.
Completely blind.
Absolutely.
Never having done it. Again, everyone has to start somewhere. So I can understand it from that perspective as well. Is like, if it's your first comp and you're helping out a mate and they're going in for their comp and you help them, program them back into the comp or whatever it might be. Sweet.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like taking clients through the comps and things like that, I think it's a really good idea for you to experience some time in the trenches before doing so.
Definitely. Yeah. And that, I mean, fast forward to now, but like I personally would never hire a coach that hasn't stepped on the platform a lot. Very experienced. Maybe this is right or wrong, and the internet argues that all the time. But I want a person that's fucking fairly elite. Myself, and when I say fairly elite, I mean it's not even about them having elite numbers, but just having competed enough and being under pressure and knowing what to do in situations like that. That they can know what the fuck's going on when I'm going on. So I'm not having to explain like, this is how I feel. Like they know like how it feels, like that's important to me. But yeah, right. It's me and Tyler definitely fucking winged it. Like Tyler had done some equipped
so did Daz and me.
Like that.
So it was like,
but yeah, I still can't really remember my first coaching thing. I remember that it would have definitely been Mickey at her PA comp, but it's very different.
Yeah.
Because people that don't know PA or IPF, like they have this like similar to my first coach and how she wasn't allowed at my meet because I wasn't an IPF member. I wasn't allowed to handle her, or I wasn't even allowed out the like warm up room. So silly rule, fucking stupid rule. I'll stand by that. But it meant that I was kind of coaching, but like from the audience. So like she would like do an attempt, and then I'm like texting her like, "Hey, this is the next one," like yelling it over the fence. So yeah,
that was me when I was reffing deadlift for dogs, and I had like 10 lifters.
Yeah. But IPF has ruined that experience for me a bit. The first one that I would have handled at like in person would have been at PTC Gold Coast here when I moved here. It's just I don't remember it exactly.
Yeah.
But that would have been the first one that I actually. But I agree with everything you said. In that you should know generally what you're doing, because like I said, you're coming in with a plan, and like people are coming in with a plan, and you're not like making it like that's what you probably think you're doing if you're handling the first time at a comp, but you're not. It's supporting the person through the ups and downs of the day, and the directing.
A little bit of a babysitter.
And telling her just go do this, go do that, like da-da-da. Because like I said, from the athlete side, you're just not thinking really. You're just like in your own world a lot of the time. Or if you're like me, I get caught up talking to 100 people, and then Mickey has to tell me to go and do stuff. So yeah, you end up doing a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Which
it's more logistics than it is like the planning. Like you can come in with a plan of like numbers. That's great.
Or if somebody's like failed their opener, you can be, how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do in that situation? Like, what are you going to say to them? Even though you can't really, like, you can help, but you also can't help. People are going to discover who they are after that.
Yeah.
But
how do you talk someone off a ledge when they're ready to pack it in halfway through a day?
Even on the weekend just gone, I was up in Townsville for our Nexus, GPC, Townsville
Novice.
comp up there. Yeah, novice GPC. And although they weren't my athletes, I was handling a few people just because of the hecticness of the day and how many people that we had competing. And one of the guys that I was handling, Mitch, failed his first squat and then proceeded to fail his second squat just through like little technical errors, like just almost mind blanks. Like he definitely had it in him, and he was like just doing little dumb shit. And he'll attest to that. But I could tell like this dude was incredibly like just fucking worked up. Like I don't know, but I reckon he had a fair few stims leading into it because he was like buzzing. And then you combine that really stimulated mindset with a lot of just normal nerves that we talked about, nerves and excitement that you have normally, and then combine that with failing a couple of lifts and the
adrenaline pumping,
the adrenaline, the anxiousness, and the fucking world collapsing on you sort of feeling that comes with that. And then so like really difficult to talk to somebody before their third attempt in that situation. Just kind of like losing his shit, which is very fucking normal. Like I wouldn't expect him to be any different at that point. Because you're just looking at like, oh, what can I change? Can I change this? Can I change that? Like, what should I do different?
Real knee-jerk reactions.
Exactly. Yeah. In reality, that's all I was trying to do was just say, no. Like, this is the weight that you've done a lot of times. You don't need to do anything special. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to just, we just don't need to change. Like, we don't need to change the plan at all. We need you to go out. We need you to be calm and collected again, as much as you can be anyway. Gather yourself. Take your time. And I just said, I want you to walk out there. I want you to grab the bar. And then before you start your setup process, I want you to just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just center yourself. And try and focus on like your steps of your warm-up, because that's all you can do. And that's exactly like when it happened to me when I was at Pro Raw 12, I think. I don't know, whatever. And then I failed my first 2 squats and first 2 benches on, again, on technicalities. And I remember everybody trying to come up and give bench advice, as in like, oh, I think you should do this with your feet or do that with your back, or, change this. And then I remember Thomas coming up to me and just being like, don't do any of that. Like, what we're going to do. Yeah. And he was fucking 100% right.
Yeah.
Because changing shit at that point, and don't get me wrong, all these people trying to help.
Yeah, they were coming from a place, like a
absolutely.
Good place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's nothing against them, but yeah, Thomas coming in, fuck that off. We're just gonna go out there. You're gonna, you can do this weight. It was my opener, so I could have done it with I was pretty confident to do it with like a Larson press. So that's kind of what I ended up doing. But just went out and just fucking regathered and just went, do this weight 100 times. So I'm just gonna lock in and focus on the little execution and just doing it.
Well, that in itself highlights the benefit of having a coach/handler who knows you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and also someone who has enough experience to be like, no.
If he was there and going like, oh fuck man, what the fuck's going on? Like, blah.
Yeah, freaking the fuck out. You'd be freaking out. That's not the time.
Yeah, you pick up on that. You absolutely, you take that on board. Same when I've seen seen it a lot of times where people fail a lifting comp and then their coach and handler is freaking out, and then I just watch the brain implosion and they just bounce off each other. This person's freaking out, so the lifter freaks out, and then because they're freaking out, the coach freaks out even more, and it's like boom, just fucking boom, and then they're walked out, and you can see it in their eyes. They've already 100% failed.
Yeah,
and never goes good.
I think, and again, that comes with experience. Like if you're a newer coach or newer lifter, etc., like you're not expected to just know these things. Like shit comes with experience.
Yeah,
like you're going to learn through trial and error. Like you're going to learn what to do, what not to do, how to handle situations better, what happens when situations arise. If you're a coach, the more times you work with varying people, you can see how similar personalities might react on a day, or how, I've worked out with Kiev that like, I know exactly when to tell him to sit down, shut up. I know when to tell him to put his headphones in. I know when to tell him to go on. I know when to do everything for him because I just know him.
Yep.
So, but like the first comp I had no fucking idea.
Yeah.
That's just comes with experience. Like, it's just things you need to learn.
On both sides.
Oh, yeah, both sides. Like, him learning how I respond on a comp and I learning how he responds on a comp. Like, I had a client last year who was competing at Nats, and I remember it must have been her bench warm-ups, I think, were feeling heavy. And she, like, had a meltdown. Like, that was it. It was didn't fail a lift, nothing like that. It was just they were feeling heavy.
Yeah.
And I walked out and we were just sitting down and we were having a bit of a chat. And I was like, okay, yep, cool. But you've hit this opener 12 times in the last month. Like, you know how to hit this number. Like, this is a number that's a walk in the park for you. We've done it 100 times. Like, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Took some time. She calmed down, recentered herself, all of that sort of jazz. Came second overall for the day.
Yeah.
In her weight class. Like, if she'd gone and packed it in how she wanted to, she wouldn't have had that experience. And, like, that was something that I was like, okay, cool. This is just something to be mindful of for next time. Put it in the little brain and pop it at the back of the head for the next comp. But
so what if somebody was a coach out there and handling somebody for the first time? What are we given as a quick, like, kind of checklist of stuff, to do or to be prepared for, or how can you beat? Like you said, there's some things that you just can't because it's just reps. You got to do it.
Yeah, as a coach, if you're handling someone for the first time, the best thing you can do is, I've honestly just learned by asking them.
Yeah.
Like, how do you, like, if you're training normally, do you wear headphones?
Mm-hmm.
Are you someone who enjoys chatting? Like, is it these sort of things? I'm just asking them as they're going through. Like, I'll start to pick up on a vibe as well with, like, how they're warming up and how things are moving along that front. But I think the best thing that you can do as a coach is, and you already said it to a degree, is you need to keep composure and you need to be, like, a little bit more authority and be like, okay, cool, let's go warm up. Okay, cool, you need to go and rest. You need to eat now. Like, this sort of stuff will help that lifter more than, like, oh, what do you want to do now? Oh, where do you want to go? Oh, when do you want to warm up? Oh, when do you want to do this? Because, like, at the end of the day, you're their coach.
Yeah.
You should be the one guiding them.
Yeah.
So there might be a couple of little, like, personality things or emotions that arise throughout the day. But if you've got, like, 80% on lock because you're like, when someone needs to warm up, how to pick good attempts. Like, you're not fucking having someone walk out to an opener that's an RPE 10 and then being like, yeah, sick, let's add another 20 kilos to that, because it's just not going to happen. All of these little things that you can do that actually don't take that much. It's like, okay, cool, let's start warming up now. Okay, clients will always come to me and they're like, oh, what should my warm-ups be?
Yeah.
I'm like, the exact same you do in the gym.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. Like, if you warm up 70, 120, 170, 200, that's what you're doing today.
Yeah, because chances are you've hit some singles.
Yeah, we're not adding any more. We're not adding any less, unless, like, you'd feel, if you're on deadlifts and you don't need to, or you need to do it, like, vice versa. But, like, there's no set in stone, like, okay, cool, well, you've been doing this warm-up for 6 months. I'm going to change all of that on comp day, and we're going to hope for the same result.
Yeah.
So I think it's just familiarity. And
what you're saying is just be prepared and have a plan in place, and have something to follow along to, and make sure that your athletes are the same, because if they're not planned and then they rock up and they're doing kind of what you said back to you, as in, like, what do I do now? Where do I do this? It's going to happen sometimes with people, because people just get unsure about themselves and want to comes from a good place. They're just trying to do the absolute best things that they can do.
People care.
But it helps if they come in with some knowledge and they come in with a plan. They don't have to think as much. And that goes for nutrition training, both sides of it.
Well, I'll pretty much every time I have a client compete, even if I'm handling them face-to-face, I'll always jump on a call with them the week of comp.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Openers.
Yeah.
Expected seconds. Expected thirds.
Yeah.
Potentially. Always tell them,
but
there's
it's
room
not
for
only
movement.
that stuff, but it's like, have you got your food sorted?
Yes. Yeah.
Have you got your accommodation sorted?
That's where we have all, but,
If they're cutting weight, make sure you bring your scales with you. Make sure you
have your rehydration stuff ready.
We have a plan ready.
Yep.
Like, all that little stuff will make your life as a coach a lot easier than somebody rocking up and then just going like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. What do I do? And you're like, I don't know what you're doing. Shit. Yeah. And you're both like as fucking confused as each other, just trying to wing it.
I know we're big on it here with preparation. Like, I know we have a rough timeline of like, okay, this client's 8 weeks out. Let's make sure they've got all their lifting gear sorted that they need. Like,
we have some resources.
We've got resources and stuff like that on that sort of thing. I think last year I had a client order knee sleeves and they arrived at the day of competition.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, they had to go and pick them up the day of comp or something.
Haven't used them yet.
I'm glad they're prepared for that. But yeah, I think it just comes down to that like preparation, and the more you can come in, like plans obviously can change. That's fine.
Oh yeah,
but if you have no plan,
yeah,
and then shit changes, all of a sudden something that's like a minor thing turns into a major. And as you said, like if you start to freak out, the client athlete freaks out, and then you freak out more, and it's just this like never-ending circle of freaking out, and then no one has a good
nobody
day.
Wins. And then from the athlete side, my biggest advice is always just like exactly that same thing. Have a plan, know what you're doing to a degree. Like, sure, if you have a coach, and don't just lean on them completely to 100% guide you. Like, you should know kind of what's going on, what you have to do, what the layout of the day. If I would definitely recommend go to a comp, get involved. Like, just whether it's just watching maybe the first time, or maybe you put your hand up to volunteer and fucking load plates, or just and kind of just get involved in the comp and get to know like how a day works. Like, all that stuff's going to help you big time when it comes to you competing, because you're just going to be confident in your surroundings and know what's going on. You're not having to think about that. You're just thinking about the lifts, which is exactly how it should be. That'll avoid you being rushed and flustered and anxious and nervous to a degree anyway, as much as, like the good nervous, not fucking terrified nervous. The other thing, like I said earlier, getting somebody to help, even if you're confident in the plan, like just getting somebody to be there, your training partner and or your coach, depending on the situation, I guess. Make sure you have your food guide. Make sure if you're cutting weight, you have a plan. Don't just wing it. And I guess the last one is, don't go and get KFC in between your lips.
Or Red Rooster.
Yeah, KFC, whatever it was.
The only other thing I'd throw in there is...
I'm sure there's...
Just one that I see very, very common, especially with less experienced trainees. Don't get so caught up on numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Because...
What do you mean by that?
Well, in terms of, like, as we've explained, like, we have a plan, we have everything set up, like, everything.
Yeah.
Things can go to plan, but sometimes shit doesn't.
Yeah.
And if someone is, like, so I should probably say have realistic expectations of numbers.
Yeah.
Don't just think that you've gone and maybe squatted 220 in the gym, and then all of a sudden you're going to go squat 250 on the day, and then be severely disappointed that you didn't. It's be realistic about where you're at, and that'll come down from the coaching perspective.
And like I said, sometimes shit just doesn't go your way.
Sometimes shit goes fucking better than expected.
Sometimes, there's absolutely two sides to that coin. But either way, you roll with it and you try to learn lessons from it, and then carry it forward. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
There's no use sitting and dwelling. You're allowed to have your cry in the moment, or your excitement in the moment, I guess, depending on which way you're going there.
Yeah.
But
spew.
You take those lessons, hopefully in collaboration with the coach, and take it good or bad forward. I guess, that's about it really. That's as much as we need to go in. But if anybody has any questions, thoughts, stories on their first comp, shit they did that was dumb, shit they did that was great, let us know.
Both
just
coaches and athletes.
Shoot us through either an email or an Instagram message, and I'm glad to hear about it and chat about it next time.
Or if you do have a comp coming up and you have any questions, shoot them through as well.
Cool.
Happy to help. Happy to have conversations.
Leave it there. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Perfect.
Thank you for listening to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. Be sure to jump on our website to find details on everything mentioned in the podcast today, plus information on our coaching, mentoring, and gyms based in the Gold Coast and Townsville. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram for any updates on what we are currently doing, and we'll see you all in the next episode.